Carolyn, here to share another channeled message from the LightKeepers, a group of angelic beings I channel for your awakening and ascension journey support. So thank you so much for joining me today. So this channel came as a result of contemplating what my next video would be. So what I typically do is I just kind of let it go, and I let inspiration and kind of the LightKeepers or any other group that comes to me signal me that it's time for a video. Well, this is what happened, and I really didn't expect this one. This is actually talking about what we can kind of expect over the next 6 months of 2021. So basically it's a glimpse using lots of metaphors. It feels a little riddly. They do this on occasion. Well, they actually do this a lot. You'll find this when you do channeled sessions with me. They use lots of visual metaphors. You're going to see this in this channel. And then the visual metaphor actually then is interpreted either by them or by me through the channeling I get. So what you're going to see here today, it's a little different than some of my other channels. How I channel is kind of two different ways. Basically, I'm a facilitator typically of a conversation between you as the client and your spirit team. I'm the facilitator. So the information comes through me in just me talking directly and giving you information. And then it's interchanged with conversation that your spirit team, or in this case, the LightKeepers, actually offer me. So it's still a back and forth, but at the same time, everything I offer you with my voice is channeled. So it might be a little different than what you're used to with others who channel, but again, that's how it works for me. That's how it works in my sessions. So today we're going to talk about a glimpse into the next 6 months. Now, as I always say, take what resonates for you. If there's one thing that resonates, great. If there's nothing, then you just toss it all away. But I'm here to offer it to you so you can have a little bit of an understanding for yourself. I thought it was fascinating. It's actually 30 minutes of channeling. So again, as I always say, go get your favorite drink of choice and kick back and listen to this, and then unravel it for yourself. I have actually offered a lot of interpretation during the channel, so I don't know if I'll have a lot to say afterwards. I don't know. I might. We'll see what they have to say too. So I hope you enjoy this and it helps you along your journey. So I'm Carolyn. I'm a channel. I'm a distance energy healer and a spiritual awakening mentor. And I offer these sessions for you privately as well if you're interested in working with me. You can check it out at purplerainhealing.com and just contact me and we can go from there. So I'm going to get started on the channeling. I'm going to read all of this for you and then we're going to close out maybe with a little bit more information. We'll see. Okay, so let's get going. And just one thing I want you to know is it starts out with the LightKeepers talking, and then I will let you know when I speak. And the information is actually coming through my voice, which I think you'll be able to tell. Kind of similar to how I've done this in the past. Present yourself in a way that you would be glad of today when you look back and find the life that you had in time. For what will come your way will test all of you of who you are today, your growth that has come from this too, and the things that you have been through in your life. And now this journey of the collective we say too. For look deep in your heart and you will find things will swirl around you and you will be grabbed on in time to think a different way than you know. Is it really true? And do you feel it deep inside of you? For all answers are inside we find, from the deepest feelings of love in time. But when the strength of human emotion comes, beware. For it will take you on a run and find you moving down the way of the path of the rabbit hole today. So stay strong and true, for the times that come will have you questioning where you belong and where you have been and where you are going in these days. So then I chime in and I say, okay, so you're addressing us, the light workers on this pathway. And then I start seeing, and I say, I'm seeing it's like a walking escalator is what you're showing me, but the walking escalator is where you're just standing there and the escalator's moving and it's as though you're watching everything from glass panes on the outside. So there's glass separating the walkway, like those walkways in airports, and you're seeing almost like this movie take place. You're seeing everything else take place, a lot of chaos, but you're still on this walkway. I won't say it doesn't affect you, but, oh, you just said It's not in your vortex unless you choose it to be. And then they say, it's what you choose and where you wish to put your energy and time. For if you follow, then you will find things will swirl around you and you'll turn into this lower vibration in time. For it is your choice, we say. Which way do you want to go today? You know what we've talked about previously, too, of how the things that you focus on become you. So you will find this year, it is true, things will sway back and forth to times where you feel like things are changing. And oh, yes, they are, we find. But these are the difficult days in time. For a year comes in and a year goes. It does not mean that it sows everything brand new. For you are in the climb of a lifetime, across the collective. Yes, we say, but understand where you fit in today. And then I say, okay, you're showing a very high mountain, and it's off in the distance with a very high peak, and we're walking toward it. And they say, these are the peaks and the valleys you know. Climbing up, oh yes, you go. But what do you bring along for the journey of all time? And I say, okay, so I don't know where this is going, but I'm seeing light workers climbing through the snow, walking up the mountain, and I don't want to say easily trudging through it, but they're making good progress. And now, okay, there are other people, other parts of the collective coming, but they're further behind. And then they say, trying to get to the top to claim victory over today of all the lands. For yes, this is what is happening right now in time. For the journey is long and does not end soon, but no, there's much beauty along the way. Do not give up, for you will see outside your window in the sense of your vision things that you do not understand or wish for always, and you feel the great breaking down today. For yes, it will happen. The crumbling that you're beginning to see will continue in a way that brings together timelines that cross over. Which way will you take, we say too? And then I say, okay, so this is what I'm seeing. So what I'm getting for 2021 here now, and not that it didn't happen before, but all these timelines are crossing over each other. They're different subtly and also slightly, but you're showing like this big rope again. Okay, so this is that rope analogy you've shown me before. These huge ropes that you might think of being used for big ships that are made up of all these little individual twines that make up the big rope. So what you're showing now is, you're saying, where are you going to be? The higher timeline will you see? And then I say, okay, so you're saying we're going to have opportunity to make choices as we move forward. And then they say, are you going to choose the higher timeline, not only for yourself? For as you choose the higher timeline for yourself, you then choose it for the collective, not getting mired in the muck. So then I go into a lot of information, of channeled information that they're giving me and that I'm seeing. So what's happening now, and you can argue that all timelines are valid now, but what I'm getting very much, you're showing pathways. This is the timeline of the rope that we can choose, and it's about what we choose in our journey. Do we choose the higher light? We all know what that means for our journey. Or are we going to choose the lower light? We've talked about this in videos before, where what are we choosing for ourselves? What timeline are we choosing? What do we feel? We talked about this in the last video, where it's all about what's inside of you, choosing for yourself, coming from the feeling of you. This is what people are going to be doing this first quarter of the year. Okay, so now I'm seeing coming into spring now. And I'm just going to talk about coming into spring. Now, there's also this uphill climb that I'm seeing, but this is to grab onto the higher timeline as we move forward in this journey in spring. We're climbing up this mountain of choosing the higher timeline, because we're going to be, what you're showing now is we're going to be bombarded with things that are really from the lower light that are in our awareness, and that can take us down the rabbit hole and keep us from choosing the higher timeline. So this is, okay, you just said battle. We are in a battle. It's just a different kind of battle. And we're seeing it playing out, particularly in the United States. Lower light, higher light is what you're saying, but it's what you choose individually to focus on and do each day. This is a big journey over the course of spring. April looks like something is going to occur, and I don't know what that means. It's a graph you're now showing me that's moving up to like a top of a mountain, and then something in April. I don't know what that is, but there's something occurring around April as we journey to choose our higher timeline. And remember, this is not about looking outside of yourself. This is about being inside of yourself. And as you do this and work on yourself and your journey and what journey you want, now you can choose your journey and what feels best to you. And this is a day-to-day effort is what you're showing of self-care, of doing the kinds of things that are focused on you, making the higher choices. You are still going to have things come your way you haven't addressed in the past, and now they're coming, and you're thinking they're done, but you still have these things that are coming your way to address. Okay, so now you're showing me, and I think you've shown us this before, where individuals are walking the path, and then it's almost like a video game. What you're showing me now is a video game where things pop out, kind of like, also like a Halloween drive-through, where, things pop up and you are like, oh my gosh, I didn't expect that. But these things pop out for you to deal with. It's like that video game where you have to knock things away and you have to deal with them. You can't ignore them any longer to move forward. Okay, so now you're mentioning front lines. We're knocking away the things, and I'm seeing this, that we continue to deal with, but that we may not have realized we haven't fully handled. So everyone, we have to remember this is an inside job, this is an individual job, and we are climbing to the top. I don't know what's happening in April, but that's very much what I'm seeing. Highly energetic. So the focus right now is individual work outside of what's happening with the collective, because you're holding the light. You're holding that higher vibration. And as long as you keep working on yourself, coming from unconditional love, coming from kindness, coming from caring, staying away from the depths of the darkness that can take us down and swirl us away. And then in April, I'm seeing a really bright light. So remember, we went through a circle of light that was our light that we started seeing back last September, somewhere around that time frame, and we had the roller coaster metaphor. And then we moved into approximately November time frame, where I started to see the circle of light that we were all going through. Earth was going through a shift and a change with the energies most recently. So we've entered that, and that's the new age. That's this new gateway of energy that many of us have felt already. But what it's also done is activated the lower light. It's activated things so there's even more of an extreme now. So going through this gateway, it has to expand out in order for us, as you're saying, to find our place. Okay, now I'm getting a lot of chaos between now and April in the world, particularly in the United States. And this is people, this has to do with belief structures. Oh, you're saying belief structures breaking down, and then they start in again. Yes, it is true, for this is what it is about, the rebuilding of you as an individual, but everyone is going through this at the same time. What belief will they take with them, we say? Break it down and create your own today. What do you really feel? For this is always an inside job, part of the collective you are today, and as you rebuild, what we say you know too, all of you have things that you're still breaking through. Others you look at in the chaos that swirls around you today and are whipped up in a frenzy, one way or another we find. This is what to step out of in time, for you cannot find your clarity when it comes to great human emotion, stuck in the rabbit hole too. And then I say, okay, you're showing now going down the rabbit hole and stuck, but oh my gosh, you're stuck upside down. And they say, it is upside down, we say, for you will be stuck. And I say, okay, the feet are upside down, going down the rabbit hole. So it's very hard to get out of that because it's such a heavy energy. So you're also showing, oh, you just said gateway. And they say, yes, gateway to another time and space. And I say, you're showing us climbing through that gateway to another space and time. And this is that timeline. It's almost like there are divergent paths. This is the breaking down, and this is also choosing the higher timeline. This is the ascension. And then I continue. So what I want everyone to understand is what I'm getting here is, okay, you're saying the splitting apart. Okay, so we're seeing the splitting apart, the choosing the paths through the first 3 or 4 months. In April, something is happening. We're coming then into, okay, you just said a landslide. Oh, a landslide. Okay, like you're sliding down the other side of this mountain I'm seeing. Oh, now you're saying breaking apart. Which way will you go? So it doesn't mean going down into the abyss from what I'm seeing, but it's like we get to the top of the mountain and then part of it breaks off. So I want to explain this because we've talked in the past how in the ascension, we're not leaving Earth, we're building a new Earth. So we're here with everyone. But because of the timeline situation, again, remember the rope, we're all part of the shipping rope. We're all the little intertwining pieces, the threads that create the larger rope. But we don't necessarily run into some of the other things that we see that we wish not for in our journey. But we're still part of the collective, and we're still here to assist in this higher vibration. So what I'm getting after April, and I don't really know what this means, as I've said before, but I guess we'll learn as time goes on, is we're coming down this other side of the mountain, but we're sliding down. It's like you're sitting on your rear end and you just went. Oh, it's like an avalanche happened. Oh, okay, so an avalanche, I'm seeing this. Oh, it's separated out from everyone. One way or another, people are strewn every which way. And I'm getting this as a metaphor. And I think it's for beliefs and systems and what we're going to create out of this. And then we pick ourselves back up sometime in summertime. It feels like, oh, you just said dusting yourself off. It feels like summertime, we're dusting ourselves off. Okay, now you're showing people standing up, but the light is standing up. It turns into light, like the light is really standing up. That's us with the light standing up. And then I continue and say, I feel like we have started to separate out. We're going to feel, those of us on this awakening journey, this ascension journey, we're going to feel even more high vibration, higher light, other dimensional, which assists everyone. But you're going to almost feel more separate than you have ever before from the rest of the collective, which is the analogy of the avalanche and people going one way or the other. Which may also mean, obviously, as we've said before, from family members, friends, whatever, but it's going to be stronger. There's something significant about summer because it's as if we're picking up and we look like light now, like we're standing up again. And that's what I've got right now. So between now and April, okay, you just said it's choosing your own path because there's going to be so much happening for us to consider. And even though we are light workers and we are awakening, the lower light still wants to pull us in. So keep that in mind because that can happen and you can get stuck. You can get stuck is what I'm showing in moving forward. And so we've talked a lot about what we can do day to day to keep ourselves in the higher light, continuing the healing process, continuing your inner work, continuing your self-care, continuing to honestly shelter yourself from things that you don't need to be involved in, stepping your toe in and coming out, coming from the heart of kindness and love, coming from the inner you, building from the inside out. Self-care includes meditation, eating right, all of this, everything we've talked about before. Looking at yourself. What can you do? Because if everyone did that self-care and took care of themselves, look where we'd be collectively, correct? Rather than getting pulled in from the frenzy from the outside. So this is the journey through April. Something in spring. Like I want to say mid to late spring sends us down the other side of the mountain, almost like an avalanche, and then we are picking ourselves back up in the summer. But we have also split apart even more. But it does look like many of us have come down one side of the mountain and the others have come down the avalanche of the other part of that backside. It's a further splitting away is what I'm getting, and yet we are still together. But it's as though there is, like we've talked before, the analogy previously given of this shift is that we are still the collective. So think back on the drawing of the paper that we used once before, a black and white pencil drawing on paper. And then you put a transparent piece of tracing paper over the top. You lay it on top. That's us, the light workers, those who are leading the way. Those who are awakening, lying on top of the drawing, we're the tracing paper. That's the other piece of paper. That's the rest of the collective below. You're able to see through it, and you're able to see the drawing. And yet you're still part of the one, in the sense the separation is there, and it will swirl around you, but you're seeing the drawing, and you can trace over it if you need to. But you're not in the drawing, if that makes sense. You're on the tracing paper. The rest of the collective coming through is on the paper with the drawing. But we see the drawing. We are part of it. So then I asked them, let's talk a little bit now about earth events. Can you speak to this? Can we show something? And then I say, oh, you just said crumbling down. And they say, yes, the earth will be activated too in the ways we have talked in the past, as the human collective is energetically activated. And I said, oh, you're now showing a positive and negative, like in an electrical way, like a battery. Now you're showing a battery, the positive, the negative. Oh, you just said polarization. Oh, so you're saying polarization. That's causing some kind of new energy or a pulling apart, you just said. Okay, that makes sense. So, oh, now you're showing like a pulling apart of two earths. It looks like two cells dividing. Oh, this is the new earth situation. But at the same time, what's happening is you're showing the plus and the negative. This causes, oh, you just said a ripple effect. Wow, I have chills. Now, when I get chills, that basically is an emphasis on what they just said, like a super emphasis. And then I say, oh, it's a ripple effect in the earth. Okay, so the earth is going to continue to clear out. It feels like, I don't know, I'm just saying this is an expansion of the crust is what you're showing. I don't know what that means, but there's something expanding out, breaking apart. I don't know if these are earthquakes. Oh, I know we've been having these, of course, but there's something going on with expansion out, positive, negative, you're showing me. I don't know much about that, but it feels like it's working against each other, and you're showing a battery again, positive and negative, and that yet it's still needed, the totality of that positive, negative, to provide the new energy. So the earth again will continue with shifts, but I'm seeing something with the crust. Kind of like a pulling apart. Wow, I have so many chills on this. Oh, you just said a sea change, but you just said levels. What? Oh, rising and falling across the earth. Oh, you just talked about tectonic plate movements. This does feel like earthquakes, and this kind of seems obvious, but I think we know the earth is continuing to shift and change. Oh, but you just now said mountains grow. Wow, this is interesting. You're talking about mountains growing from the sea. And then they say, mountains grow from the seafloor. New waves in time will be seen. And I say, this might have to do with new discoveries. This may have to do with actual literal upheavals coming, showing mountains we didn't know were there, but that will be uncovered possibly. It feels like 2021 is a huge shift in the earth. And you're saying now it's going to shift and change into new land. That there's that opportunity. So I don't know. I guess we'll wrap this up. This gives some indication. I do want to continue following this thread as we move forward. And then I ask, is there anything else you want to show me at this point? For this year, for the beginning of the year? And again, I know a lot of this is metaphors potentially. And I don't really know how this is going to play out, but clearly it's a greater polarization. We're very much, and lastly, you're showing me again the plus and minuses like a battery. You're saying polarization, so that's growing, but at the same time, greater light is there. And we're all in this together, everyone. It doesn't matter where we're at with our beliefs or thoughts. But remember, this is an inside job. It's about you, what you do with this. It's about what you feel, what you know, the heart of you. You're creating the new you from the inside out, not from the outside. And your beliefs are stripping away. You're continuing to do this. Everyone is continuing to do this with what they see and know and the building of the new you. What do you believe? What do you know? What is the heart of you? This is what will create the new earth. What you create from the inside out is what will create our new earth. Okay, so there's the channel. Now, as they talked, they separated this out into two sections: the collective human situation and then the earth situation. But what I really noticed in this is there's really no difference. So what is happening is, okay, they just said energetically activating. Okay, we both activate each other. So they just said as the splitting apart happens with the collective, now they're showing the two cells again. You know how they show cells dividing for me? And this is the new earth, but it's cells dividing. And we're still attached like this. And this is all vibration, energetically dividing. They're saying, okay, the earth is also going to, or they just said match us in our polarization. Okay, so that, I believe, is the splitting of the crust. Now, I don't know if this is just metaphoric, but, their metaphors are actually very literal, I have found. And at times what we have to do is decipher those. But they're trying to help us understand that, they're talking about the pulling apart. So as the pulling apart continues, Earth's going to feel that and vice versa, all right? But so in summary, clearly it feels to me like, okay, they just said the word strife. Yeah, so 2021 has started off, obviously, really interesting, particularly here for us in the United States, but the impact to the world is very great, right? In that. And there are many other things going on across the world as well. However, not just the United States. However, what I'm showing is this climb to the mountain, like they said, but they're again showing this to me now. Like, okay, now they're really showing it. So they're showing we all have our backpacks on and our winter clothes and our boots, and like it's a tough journey, right? Like it's a tough journey. All right, and I'm talking collectively. Our individual journeys, remember, we have choices. Okay, but we're still in that collective journey. But it's how you choose to be in that collective journey. And that may sound confusing, but I think most of you understand it's energetics, what you choose to create from the inside. Like they've talked before, and it's why they're talking about this so much with us. It's an inside job. It has to be an inside job. Otherwise, the external world is going to create you and your belief systems, which is done forever and a day, but you've been stripping those away. And now you're creating the new you. You're creating the new earth by the... Ooh, I have a lot of chills and I feel like I'm leaving my body. You're creating the new earth out of creating the new you, the new belief structures, which really is just out of love, unconditional love, feeling that, starting to understand what that means, how you express that out. What does that mean for you in building the new earth, right? The oneness of who we are. And we can get pulled into the strife. And so what they've talked about is getting pulled back into that. Even light workers can do that. Don't think you're immune, is all I'm going to say to you. Because right now what we've got is we've got a super push of the lower light. And I don't usually talk about dark energies, or I usually say lower light and higher light, or I'll use that often because it's all part of the oneness. Okay, so lower light is there trying to grab onto us more now than ever, and I believe we're going to see that dramatically in the next 3 months. That's the clothing we're showing, like we're really bundled up for this journey, and off we go. But the thing is, it's all in what path we choose on the way to the mountain, which they're showing then turns into some kind of avalanche in April, right? But it's what we choose during that time. What path do we choose? Are we going to kind of go, well, I kind of see this path over here that looks a little easier, and I could make it easier by what I choose in my own journey, choose to think, choose to take in, choose to do, choose to believe, or am I going to take the hard way, But we're all going to the top of the mountain. And so then we've got the avalanche, the event happening. It's not an event, I guess. It may be, though. Let's just see if we can get anything here. Okay, they are talking about it being a point in time. Something that will shift the collective consciousness. They're talking about toward the end of spring. Again, when I say spring, I'm talking northern hemisphere, what we call spring. Okay, so for southern hemisphere, I guess that's your fall, right? So just try to understand that as I speak in those terms, because I'm from the United States. So, okay, so a shift in the collective consciousness. So it's part of the journey from now until April that I don't think it's one big event. Okay, I think it's a big energetic shift that we may feel. So equinox is a significant time, but that's not what they're showing. They're showing April. And so they're talking again, collective consciousness will shift, to a higher plane. Because it's like half of the mountain shifts. I also found it really interesting what they talk about earth events. So, this whole idea that we are so connected energetically to the earth, and yet I find it interesting they talked about new mountains will be discovered or new land. There's a shift and change. I have no idea what we're going to find. I don't know. I just think that's fascinating. So again, I hope this has helped you a little bit. Some little tidbit of this you can take on your journey forward, and we'll just see how this unfolds. I've been doing a lot of energy updates lately versus, really talking about, specific things in the awakening. But some of my channels have shifted and changed. They really kind of want us to understand a little bit more of the journey forward, and in whatever way that unravels for each of us individually and collectively. So what I would say to you each is probably the most important message out of this, as we've talked about previously, is just to stay in your own flow. Oh, they just said stay in your own lane. Okay, yeah, stay in your own lane. Yeah. And this whole timeline situation too, we're moving in and out of timelines like nobody's business. We are. In fact, I do feel, and this kind of goes into a whole nother topic, but I'm just going to share this with you. Okay, they just validated this. Collective timeline shift happened at the end of the year. I think a lot of you have felt a massive change since the solstice and the eclipse. Like that whole time frame, the last 2 weeks of December was massively energetically powerful. And so I was starting to realize that we had a collective timeline shift at that point in time. Now remember, when we have collective timeline shifts, this is actually, okay, so hold on, let me just check. I'm checking to see if this is a positive timeline shift. Okay, so they said it is, dramatically so, but it doesn't look like it to the human. Because here's the thing, it's a greater splitting apart. Yeah, I know. So as we choose the higher timelines, the splitting apart, okay, they just said becomes more dramatic, which sounds like, why would we choose that? Well, we have to. That's the higher timeline. They just said it's the birthing process. Well, so any of you women who have had children before, I guess maybe that's a good metaphor, but it's the birthing process. Okay, it's the birthing process of this new earth, and kind of some of the trauma that comes with it before the beauty. Now, we're in this for the long haul, folks, okay? This is, as we know, the ascension happens in stages, and it is a process in time. So just hang on for the journey. Keep working on yourself. Keep choosing the higher light in everything you do. And yes, we all go jumping down into the lower light at times, but don't let it grab onto you. That's the biggest thing, because it's very eager to do that now, because we are splitting apart more, and the higher light, those of us doing this work, are really starting to, regardless of what you think you see on the surface, make some grand achievements. So thank you so much for joining me today. And if you want your own channeled messages, connect with me through purplerainhealing.com or Carolyn at purplerainhealing.com. I offer all these channeled messages for your own individual journey, and then we can start deciphering that out for you so you have even more detail, including past lives that are affecting your current life journey, and then we can start unraveling those to help you along your journey in a more succinct way. So thank you so much for joining me again, and I will see you in the next video.